Hey, it's Mike, brew-juice.com. Here we are for another installment of our kegging series. So we've walked through in the last video, we talked about all the stuff that's inside the kegerator, CO2 tank, gas manifold, going to the keg, and the kegs coming up to the faucets. So what I want to talk about right now is outside the keg. You can see I've got two faucets here. Obviously this is the business end of the whole system. This is where the beer comes out. Now, there's two different types of faucets on the market. What I have, because I bought them a while ago, these are called rear sealing faucets. So a rear sealing faucet is that when you close the valve by pushing the handle to the back, the closure inside the faucet is towards the back of the faucet, which means that any beer or residue that's forward of that is kind of exposed to air, and that's not a significant volume, but there's a fair amount of space in there. In that space, with that beer residue in there, you can get mold and bacteria building up if you're in a garage setting like I am, or when it gets hot out and it gets moldy, or if you just don't pour beer all that often. There's another version of faucets out there called forward sealing faucets, and the closure mechanism is more towards the front. And up front, so that vastly reduces the amount of dead air volume space inside the faucet itself, which restricts the amount of mold that you might get built up in a faucet. So a lot of people really like forward sealing faucets. I'll probably invest in forward sealing faucets in the future, but right now I just still have my legacy rear sealing faucets. They both, I think, work the same. But it's just a function of how often you need to clean the faucet for forward versus rear sealing. So another thing we want to talk about after you've got faucets is how you're going to mount the faucets. Here on my chest freezer, what we talked about a while ago, was I have this collar. The nice thing about a collar is you drill holes through the wood collar, you put your shanks through there, you hook your faucets up, and you're good to go. It's very easy to install in the wood. You can paint the wood, you can stain the wood, you can do whatever you want with it. You can put your brewery logo on the wood. It allows for a little more customization. Another option that some people will do is they will put a tower on here, like you see at a bar, and have the faucets in the tower. Towers are cool to look at. Your friends will think that you're awesome. The other thing with a tower, though, is that all the cold air is down inside the kegerator, and the faucet itself can be exposed to the warm ambient air. So if it's warm in your garage, the lines that are up in here are warm, and that, as the cold beer comes up through the warm lines, you can get excessive foaming. Despite all your efforts to minimize foaming, those warm lines will give you foaming. So you might need to put a fan inside there under the tower to get cool air up into the tower, or insulate the beer lines. For me, the maintenance of a tower is just a pain in the butt. And the other thing about a collar versus a tower is that you can always take the collar away, put the lid back on the chest freezer, and you're back to having a freezer, and you don't have a big hole in the lid. So those are the two main things to consider with your faucets, how you're going to mount them, what you're going to do with them. Obviously, if you had an upright fridge, you'd be mounting them on the front door, or some people like to put them through the side. The doors are nice because there's usually no refrigeration lines in the door, it's just insulation. If you want to drill through the side, you've got to be very careful to not hit a refrigerant line inside the door. You might need to drill a pilot hole, feel around in there before you actually go ahead and sink a 1-inch hole through the side of your fridge. Because you puncture that refrigeration line in there, that's the end of that fridge. And one final word about fridges is, mine is pretty ratty. I got mine on Craigslist. I'm a big fan of just repurposing equipment on Craigslist. But the thing is, with an older chest freezer like this, the efficiency might not be that good. So I'm probably paying more in electricity for this than if I went to Home Depot, Sears, or something and bought a brand new fridge, brand new chest freezer. So that's your faucets, that's your fridge, that's your collar, your towers, all that. In the next video, we're going to talk about balancing the CO2 system. We're going to talk about how to get that perfect pour, and we're going to drink some beer. So, hope you're enjoying the series. Stay with us. Brew on.